Good. All right. Thank you. Welcome. I know a number of you are familiar with this project, like Jan said, and I see some new faces here. So I'll give you a brief overview of the project, but again, we like to get your feedback on the plans and displays around the room. This project is pretty close to final design, so just to know what stage it's in. So again, this is the West End Trolley Trail. It's the off-road section. So it's a section through the wooded areas from Noblestown, in between Clearview and Noblestown, that section, it's I guess not, it's sort of wooded, semi-wooded, and then goes across Hartwell and then down through the valley all the way and meets up to McCartney Street. So the project, just for everybody, it has a long history. This was once a trolley line, hence the trolley trail. But this is, just to get everybody oriented, this is Hartwell Street looking up Noblestown towards Clearview. So everybody gets it oriented there. And like I mentioned, we're into final design. So right now we have materials selected. We are going to look at using a lot of natural materials for rocks for seating. We're talking about benches yet and trash cans. It's not totally decided what all we're going to use and where we're going to use it there, but again, trying to use a lot of natural rocks for seating. Additional materials. We're going to be the trail is going to be lit with the city's standard lighting, and we're also going to have bollards at the ends to prevent vehicular traffic from using, because the project is going to be paved. I'll show you later in the typical section. Again, this meeting, we're trying to get everything above ground so everybody can show everybody what you're going to see, right? There's things going to happen underground for stormwater, and collect stormwater, and the pavement structure and that sort of thing. But again, we're trying to show everybody what's going to happen up above ground. So we have signing and pavement marking, again, a lot of signs along the trail, advisory signs, cautionary signs. There's going to be a number of fence runs to separate some of the businesses and residents along the trail, give you a little bit of separation, so just some protection or some barriers along the trail as it goes down through there. We have a pretty extensive landscaping plan. So as far as landscaping, chosen the different flora and fauna. I'm not a landscape architect, but our landscape architects have chosen some good landscaping plant species. And this is going to be probably a big area of discussion in between Clearview and Noblestown. We're really going to change the landscape along there. So that'll be there's some more details, and as we get through the slides and start breaking out, looking at the plans, I can go into more detail there. What the actual plants and species that we selected are going to look like there. So again, it's come a long way since we've met last time. Again, more planting. So that area, and then throughout the trail, it gets a little less dense as you go through the heart of the trail as far as new plantings go, and then a little bit more where it meets McCartney. Okay. And then just to give you some numbers, so we're adding more tree diameter than we've taken away, that were taken away. So we did a tree inventory. There are some trees that are not as desirable that we want to get rid of throughout the corridor. And then we're adding additional trees as far as tree diameter. So you can see the numbers. We're cutting 110 inches of tree diameter. A lot of mature trees that are towards the end of their life or not the greatest tree. And then we're adding 130 inches of new trees. But again, that's at where we're planting them. That might be 2-inch diameter growth or 4-inch diameter growth. And then they're going to grow from there. So a lot of the photos and displays around show the trees at full growth, so you get an idea what they look like. This is a typical section between Clearview and Noblestown. Again, to give you an idea, we're going to keep the larger trees on the Clearview side, and then the trail, and then the smaller trees and plantings, grasses. We tried to use stuff that was natural, deer resistant, and lower maintenance. As I mentioned, here's the typical section. It's a little bit engineering oriented, but gives you an idea of the stormwater underneath the trail. We did change the width a little bit. If people remember, before we had a 4-foot slow lane, I'll call it a slow lane, going up the trail, going on the uphill side for slower users. But we looked at it, and the more we talked about it, we think we need it on both sides because of the trail, the speed that people can use this trail. So we ended up putting it on both sides. So we have a 2-foot and 2-foot on both sides, 2-foot on both sides, yeah. 2-foot slow lane, I'll call it slow lane in layman terms, on both sides of the trail. So the overall width hasn't changed, but just the typicals changed a little bit. Okay. As far as schedule goes, next steps, we are, like I mentioned, we're working in final design right now. We're going to advertise, hope to advertise. If we get all the permitting, we're still working with PWSA as far as permitting to tap into their line. I know that was a delay of the schedule for a while, but they're working with us. So we still have a little bit of some more hoops to jump through, but we're getting there. And then hope to start construction this spring or summer. And again, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Jan, but yeah, provide feedback.
Yeah. So yeah, we're all here to provide feedback. There's different sites around the room. There's also QR codes posted up around the room, which has a survey that you can leave feedback at. For folks virtually, we're going to leave the chat open. You can leave comments in there. Laura can add the engage page there as well, and you can leave comments there. If you have neighbors, you can let them know to visit the engage page. I'll also throw my contact up. You can email me, and then I'm being signaled that there's post-it notes that folks can leave around the room as well. So feel free to fill those out and pin them to the different displays around the room. So this is my contact information, top left. Chastity couldn't be here tonight, but she's the neighborhood engagement coordinator for the Westwood, West End, Crafton Heights neighborhood. And then Paul Scott has some of the, I don't know where Paul went, but he's here as well and can also help direct any questions. So I think we really want to encourage folks to, leave feedback on these things, but for folks on Zoom, if they have any questions or if there's any like high-level project, like scale type questions, we'll spend a couple minutes answering those before we break out. Does anybody in the room have any questions? We'll bounce between the room and Zoom just to give folks an opportunity. I'm going to take this mic off and ask that you speak into it. It's not for folks in the room. It's just for the folks on Zoom to be able to hear you. So I think I saw a question here.
It's not really a question so much as a concern about the project in general. I'm a user of the trail. I'll just preface what I'm going to say because it's somewhat of a criticism, I suppose. I'm a user of the trail myself. I have been for several years. I've lived in this neighborhood my entire life. And I've long been waiting for this trail because it's been on the kind of docket for a very long time. And I've been very excited about it. My husband bikes back and forth to work on the north side, and he bikes much more than I do. I'm more of a walker and a runner. I am deeply concerned about having a trail come from the West End Bridge essentially up to Westwood. The trails that are existing in the city right now are in really, I don't want to run on the North Side Trail. I don't feel safe there. And largely because I'm exhausted when I'm running. I'm 47. So if I'm running, like you could flick me over, I'm almost dead. But I don't feel comfortable going down there, which breaks my heart because I love the North Side. I love the North Side Trail. It's beautiful in theory. And it's been completely destroyed. And I don't want to invite that here. I really don't. I have very deep concerns about what that means. I was driving to the West End Bridge today. I was going to serve the firehouse in Manchester for 9/11 to honor them. I've done it for years. Along with the councilwoman has served houses today. And on my way there, I was coming into the circle and there's a tent on this side of the river. And I just feel like I don't want to invite an unintended consequence into this neighborhood that I deeply love and want to preserve desperately. That's all.
I'd like to add on there. So the question I have, and I use the bike path, the south side and the north side, and now that like it is known that they do invite the blight of the homelessness problem that we have, they tend to live along there. So did you guys in the design phase have any intention of using so like large rocks where they put them like at the Grand Street exit so that they can't build tents along our path? So like there's ways to design infrastructure that can keep, there's not an open field so you could put 10 tents here, or they could butt up right against the path like they do on the south side and on the north side. Is that part of the design?
Everybody in the room hear that question? Okay. Jay, I don't know if you want to speak at all to design.
I can tell you what we did do. I think maybe that wasn't the intended consequences, but it probably is, especially with rocks. We have large boulders throughout, and I think the fencing will help also, maybe a little bit more narrow. I can add that this trail is lit, so that'll help throughout. I don't know if that helps or hurts, but we did light the trail since it is down through, and we realize it's going to be a commuter trail a lot, and it is down through the valley there.
Yeah, and I'll also just add that, as with any of the trails, 911 is always a resource. Obviously, there's empathy to be had for the unhoused folks that are living there. I understand it comes with, struggles, discomfort, but want to let you know that those resources that are available to you now on any of the other trails in terms of calling public safety are still available to you on a trail like this as well. So want to reassure you that, if there were any unsafe situations, you're always more than welcome to reach out to public safety as well. So, yeah. Laura, is there a question on Zoom?
Brandon on Zoom is asking, will this trail eventually connect to the downtown trail network?
Okay.
I can tell you where the on-road section is going to end. I think the intent is to connect to the downtown trail, but the on-road section is going to go down through town, through the West End, and end there. So I think the intent is to eventually connect there.
So it won't be like trail forever.
Right. I do want to give a quick plug. I think River Life is looking at the West End Bridge trail connection as well, which, potentially this could tie into as well. So there's a lot of trail development happening in the area. It's just a matter of kind of piecing them together. I see the councilwoman has a question.
I just don't want to minimize her concern. I actually think it's an important concern, but I think it's incumbent upon us to find housing for the homeless people and not just to worry about where they're staying. If they're staying on the trails, we need to find adequate housing and working with the community. But I do want to say, I think until we find some solutions here, I think that, I feel the same kind of angst that the community might feel, only because we do see that there's a long delay in 911 responses. And so I just think that maybe it's a conversation we all have to have. So I just want to assure you that we're going to continue this conversation. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Question back here. And if folks want to start popping their hands up, I'll keep them in mind. I think we'll do like 5 or 6 questions and then break out.
Yeah, I think safety is a big concern, but I myself have been about 15 years working on this trail. I mean, it was started just as a project to beautify the island down there, and then it mitigated into planting the trees with Tree Pittsburgh for 40 trees that we put in, and there's nobody camped out on that section of trail that's already done, and the trail that runs from Noblestown down to McCartney is so narrow, and there's so many businesses, I don't think that the businesses there would allow the tents and that to proliferate in that area. And down on McCartney Street, you have residents that live down there, so that with lighting and stuff, it probably would be more safe. But there is a homeless encampment at the far end of the West End Bridge under an old train tunnel tracks that's being put into, supposedly to be put into use to hook up to the West End Trail. So there is a homeless encampment there. I don't know if, Theresa, is that still there or has that been moved?
And then north side, that's not my district, but I think it is still there.
Huh?
But we did move one on the west end.
Okay.
Oh, the one in our district? Yeah, we moved that.
And I have one
But I
other,
think it's.
I have one
They're
other,
still there.
there's one other question.
We can close there.
Who is Clark it says administers Clark Services?
Hi, I'm from Clark Services. What we do is community engagement, so we work with the city and also the engineer to help plan a meeting, and we develop the survey, so you have all the information. The city have the information to make the decision.
And what is your information?
My name is Yvonne English Robach, Dr. Yvonne English Robach.
I mean, are you a 501c3?
No, we are not.
All right, thank you.
Laura, is there a question on Zoom or?
No, okay. There's questions about ongoing policing of trails, and I guess to answer that, I'm directing people to their Safer Together coordinator, who, this is good information for you guys, can answer ongoing questions about public safety issues. The Safer Together coordinator for this area would be Jacob Davis, I believe, for Zone 6.
And in the follow-up information, if you registered for the meeting, I'll make sure to include a public safety contact as well. I'm getting the sense that folks have some concerns about that as well. So Jacob Davis is Safer Together coordinator for the police zone here. Did you have a question? Okay, yeah, I was going to go to him and then I'll come back to you. You had a question?
Yes. Have you had any traffic count on McCartney Street? How many tractor trailers do you think back up McCartney Street each day during the week? And how many cement trucks do you think are there every day? When you come around that bend and people are on bicycles, what's going to happen to this? There's days you can't get by there in the morning. And I mean, have you looked at any traffic count at all?
Jay?
No, we have not.
Have you been on McCartney Street in your life?
We have, but that's
How many times?
that is the, no, I hear your concern. I do.
I mean,
I hear your
someone's
concern,
going to
but-
get killed down there. It's bad enough for traffic coming from Greentree to Kearns to go down Freewall. And the tractor trailers back up McCartney and turn into Freewall to turn around. That's the only way they could turn around.
Yeah, well, look.
You start there at
this
6
is-
in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, and there's a constant truck on that street.
Again, this purpose of this meeting is for the off-road section. We have yet to begin
Where's
design
the off-road
on
going
the
to be down there?
It's
You got
gonna-
the concrete company and you got the stained glass.
There's a 4-foot section that state law says is bikes. That's where the road comes.
And say state law or not, they're going to keep you still on a bicycle.
All right. The other thing I'll add too is that, we have bike facilities, trail facilities near vehicles all over the city. I hear your concern. There are other components of this project that'll look at the street section, but our traffic team has ways of mitigating
Look at
that.
how many
particular
times the fire plug has been knocked off of Freewall and McCartney Street over the years.
The what?
The fire plug.
Okay.
The fire hydrant. See how many times that's been knocked off by tractor trailers? Okay. I mean, it's a concern for the safety of the people. The homeless, they're gonna come and go. You're gonna put the homeless in down the West End in the senior citizen place. You know, you can do what you want, but is it good for the people or is it good for the city?
That's not true.
All right, I'm gonna check if there's anything else on Zoom, and then we'll come back. I think you had a question, and then there's two more here.
It's direct relation to that.
I'll come to you in a second. Anything else? Okay.
He can go first if he's directly related.
I think you semi-answered my question. I guess we're not talking about the road portions of this development yet. I did see information on that on the website at one point. So I was wondering when some of that might be offered. I do own property on McCartney Street as well. So one of my questions was going to be what that future looks like for McCartney Street.
Jay, I don't know if you can speak to that at all.
Yeah, I'm Patrick. Yeah, I think our first meeting, we talked about the entire trail. That was in very preliminary design. We've split the project into a number of projects. So we decided to move forward with the off-road section. So like that's what we're here tonight for. But then we're going to pick up the on-road section again. I don't have an exact time frame of when we're gonna start, but we're gonna start that soon. We're gonna get under contract for that and get started.
I'm in favor of it for the record. I was just curious.
Or anything on Zoom, and then I think we'll do two more questions, and then we'll split up.
Mine's associated with the uniqueness of my property, which is at the end of McCartney Street. And so actually my drive comes off of 700 Noblestown Road. So anyway, this trail that you're bringing up through there cuts right through the middle of my property, right through the middle of it. And as far as before with the rail cars, my question basically is, what gives you the right to go through that property when the easement that they had for the streetcar tracks that came up here has expired? It was only for like 99 years is what I understood to be, and that's passed. So I'd have to look in and I'll get more information on it. But as far as the crime, the people coming in, right now I'm isolated down there, and you guys call it the valley. And it's like you're placing a park right in the middle of my property, lowering my property value, making it harder for even me if I wanted to sell. But I don't understand what is being done for safety. Lights don't really protect you. That's so, anyway, so that's, I want to know basically what gives the right to be able to come and cut through the middle of somebody's property.
Jay or Patrick, I don't know if either one you can speak to that, but.
Probably have to have a meeting separately with you to talk about that, and we can't. Yeah, we'll have a meeting separate to talk about about that issue, because, yeah, I can't cover that.
Because it leads to mine, it goes right through my front yard.
Yeah, I know exactly where you are, Mr. Locke. Yeah, I know exactly where you are. Patrick and I are aware of your property and everything, so.
Yeah, so it's a unique situation, because we always had before, when it was, is when it was more open, because our family's been there for quite some time, even when the trolley tracks were there. So they do have some history that's on this, but we had issues with crime before in that area. We used to have a trailer park that was in that area, and people would pass through all the time. So I got the feeling that if I have a trail in my front yard, I got Noblestown Road on the other side, I'm just going to be a pass-through.
Thanks. Laura, anything on Zoom? Otherwise, we'll go to one last question in the room, and then we'll break out.
Yeah, I ride my bike up and down Noblestown. I ride my bike up and down McCartney in the West End, and then I, head out of the West End and right around Pittsburgh as well, too. I mean, I know people are raising a lot of important concerns here. I just want to say, I really like the idea about having a trail in Westwood and down Noblestown Road. The design, from what I can see, looks really great. I think it'll be very comfortable. I like the lighting, adding the plants as well, too. I don't know the statistics, but, I've heard people talk about bike trails adding to the property values of homes before. And in terms of the safety, I mean, that's going to be a concern anywhere you live in the city. The fact that you've got lights and hopefully groups of people passing through there, I think will be very important too. So I'm thrilled with what you're doing and I really support it.
All right. I think you've had your hands up, so I'm just going to, this will be the last comment or question, and then we'll break out.
Yeah, it has nothing to relate to what we were talking about. I was wondering what the specific trail designation was going to be in terms of like horses or motorized traffic, like dirt bikes or electric bikes. And then if there was any consideration for like water fountains. I know that any trail that I've used that had a water fountain, I didn't know if that was like on the edge of what was in the budget or planning.
Thanks.
I guess as far as designation, it's a shared use trail, but
No dirt bikes.
no motorized bikes. Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's paved. It's going to be a paved trail. Water fountains, I don't know if that came up, but I don't know. We'll have to talk about that one. Okay.
All right, so this is not the end of the meeting. This is kind of the halfway point, opportunity for folks to leave comments, share feedback. If you're on Zoom, the link to the Engage page is up there. Probably you already found it because that's how you would have registered for the meeting, but feel free to continue sharing comments there. Otherwise, we will briefly end the Zoom, and folks in the room can walk around, leave comments, talk to the project team. Patrick's here, Jay's here, and anybody else associated with the project team, if you all want to raise your hand, folks that they can leave comments with. Thank you.
Can I just end up with something?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Of course. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting your meeting, but I just want to assure everyone that we're hearing everything everyone's saying. I know most of the districts is very excited about the trail. We want to make sure that it's a safe trail and one that doesn't impede upon people's quality of life in the area. So we'll work on some of the issues, some of the concerns you raised here, and if there's individuals that they need to meet with, then they'll do that, okay? But I just want you to know we hear you. And I actually helped start the trail, Carl and I, about 15, 20 years ago. I was young, so.
Yeah, thank you, Councilwoman. I've talked with the Councilwoman about this project a bunch, and so really glad for your.
You and Patrick both really are just in this area.
Yeah. So appreciate your comments. So I'm going to turn off the mic, hand it over to the project team and the boards. So thank you all for coming. Thanks again to First United Presbyterian Church for hosting this meeting. And yeah, thanks.